Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Essay. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei got harem with Raynare and Momo? Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. What Issei experienced and feels right now could only be described as a dream. If not, how could he accept the nonsensical scenes happening in front of him? Devils, angels, and angels who have jet black wings. Not only that, there were other beings who had features completely foreign to modern society and his mind. He neither has the words nor references to describe any of them. Maybe I should go to the library. If nothing else, it gives me an excuse for studying. Lightly snickering at his lazy thoughts, he absent-mindedly views this dream just like seeing movies during his free time. An angel who stabs the devil with a furious expression. The devil who slowly lost his energy to live after being stabbed cleanly in her heart. A fallen angel, Issei decided to call the counterparts that since it's fitting, cuts the angel's head decisively with madness in his eyes. Killing, blasting, stabbing, punching, etc. etc. Such gore happens all around him. The process may be different, but the ending will all be the same. It was countless deaths for everyone on this battlefield. Pandemonium. One single word describes this dream accurately. The first time Issei saw this scene was half a year ago. He immediately went to the toilet and puked out all of his mom's cooked food. For a normal teenager who lived in peaceful modern Japan, this scene was too much for him. Heck, he even wants to applaud for himself staying sane. Not everyone could stay normal after being exposed to excessive gore again and again. It was just too realistic and vivid. Were dreams supposed to be this descriptive? Fortunately or maybe unfortunately, when you see the same things countless times, humans tend to unconsciously adapt to it. Issei was no different. That's why, the times when he was horrified walking around this scene is no more. He only looks at it mechanically just like an audience spectating the battle scene of the movie. Even the ending of it is the same. Just as he thought that, a huge mass suddenly dropped down to the ground, resulting in an immediate earthquake in the surroundings. A few were able to stand upright, but most of them either lost their balance and fell or were squashed by said mass. The dragon. Issei may be ignorant about myth, but even he would not mistake the majestic creature in front of him. Media and games always depict it as an absolute factor, either as the last boss or a powerful ally for the hero. In this case, maybe Doom would be an apt comparison. A huge body that is covered with hard gleaming scales in every inch of it. A long thick neck. Singular tail that stretched tens of meters swinging freely to its surrounding. A sharp head with glowing turquoise eyes. Red. A dominant color of red that covered every part of its body except for its eyes. No, maybe the color crimson would be better. Either way, Issei could only sympathize with the poor souls who tried to fight it. After all, with the appearance of this lump of unfairness, the sense of despair expressed by everyone was as clear as ever. You cannot fight someone that's equivalent to a natural disaster. Ah, really? If it's a dream, can you show me a better one? Complaining in his thoughts, Issei bitterly smiles while looking at the continuation. Needless to say, it's a complete landslide slaughter for the Crimson Dragon. There was no concept of battle anymore. A fight could only happen if either side had similar powers. Everyone on this battlefield could only kneel down wailing in despair or blindly charging the monstrosity with the hopeless prospect of challenging it. Even so, it was quite ironic to Issei. Surely, all of them have something to fight for, even if they need to trample others. All these people, with different factions, different perspectives, and different beliefs. Every one of them who was killing each other fervently now united as one banner to fight the dragon. Sometimes, even he thought this. You all kill each other just for the sake of it. Logically, he knew that combining for one threat was the best action for them to take. It was the smart decision to disregard their enmity to eliminate the biggest player in this game board called war. Even so, Issei could only lamentably think. Why start this massive war if they all unite almost immediately just for this one big dragon easily? Well, there's no use thinking about it. It's useless to be emotionally invested in a dream that he has no context for. Besides, he knew that the ending of it would be that the Crimson Dragon exhaled a powerful breath of fire. Then, everyone will scream painfully while burned to ashes. While thinking that, the dragon that rampages and roars toward the surrounding flies makes eye contact with a lone teenager. Did it just look at me? Issei knows he's an outlier in this dream. In fact, he knew too that his body looked ethereal compared to them for lack of a better word. But just now, he didn't imagine it. That dragon. The being equivalent of a natural disaster. It recognizes him. TCH. Subconsciously, he raised his arms to guard himself from that overwhelming gaze. The logical part of his brain knew how futile its action was, but his body instinctively protected himself from the absolute threat that could squash him to bits with his gigantic body. Say. Why? Why did the dragon recognize him? Isn't this all a dream? Say. Should he run? But where to? In fact, can he even run from it? Issei. While panicking, the Crimson Dragon flapped its powerful pair of wings, slapping all of the people who flew around it into a scattered mess. Some unfortunate ones even get crushed due to a combination of sudden air pressure and being pushed into a wall. And then. Our meeting is near, partner. Hi do Issei. Whoa. What the? Immediately standing up, hi do Issei, a second-year student of Kuo Academy blinking his eyes, look at his surrounding. A surrounding full of classmates looking at him half in suppressed laughter and half in exasperated smiles. Oh. Yes, oh is right. Haidu-kun. Slowly rotating his vision from his classmates, he faced the doom-named Issei Ama-sensei looking at him with full-blown smiles and twitching eyebrows. Oh right. But that, Issei nods to himself a few times while making a fist slamming to his other hand to finally realize his situation. He's screwed. But that, he smiles brightly at his pissed-off math teacher while bowing a complete 90-degree. Then, he raised his heavy head. Sorry sensei. I overslept. But the sincere apology. The teacher couldn't hold his temper anymore. With veins popping on his forehead, he smiles brightly in response to his cute student. Extra homework for you, Haidu-kun. Immediately, Issei's face paled. He even exaggeratedly opened his jaw wide to express his disbelief. Some deskmates near him amusedly compared the poor guy to a guppy fish. Ooh. HMPH. Hope you learn your lesson, young man. Sensei, that's too much. How could you? I thought you were an angel compared to other teachers. Ah ha 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 ha. Say what you want. Your complaints are exceptionally pleasing to my ears. Devil. Demon. A teacher with no blood or tears. Fufin, as I said. That's why you are still single despite being 30s. The hell did you just say? Most of them hold their laughter to avoid attention, but the sitcom happening in front of them is too much. Just like a chain reaction, every single one of them laughs at this absurdity. Even some of the polite girls snicker while covering it with the back of their hand. As always, their dear classmate brings good cheer even in this hellish torture class called math. Looks like luck rains upon you, huh, buddy? I think you need to read a dictionary about the right meaning of luck, Mitsuda. SNRK, Issei. Only a person with a proper brain could read a book, much less a dictionary. The hell you mean by that, Motohama? Ah, you sure know what, idiot. Issei could only sigh resignedly with a wry smile to his friends. After the last class for the day, which is MATH unfortunately, his self-proclaimed best friends Mitsuda and Motohama immediately tease him about his predicament. Well, either this or shamelessly talking about porn books openly in the classroom without shame. Issei shudders internally when comparing the present to the previous year's ones. Ugh, the mental images of it. To this day, Issei is very fortunate that he could make sense to these former pervert idiots about a sense of decency. Besides, under those bad habits, they are not bad people at all. Still idiots though. Isn't it too much teasing me when I'm already down? Never mind. To be fair, if it happens to them, then Issei will mercilessly tease them back so he can't complain much. Besides, his math teacher, Ishiyama-sensei may be a stickler for rules and decorum, but he's a good educator who won't punish students without mercy. Hopefully. Haha. It's never boring with you around, Haidu-kun. Oh, hey Hanakai-san. Well, guess I can't deny that. While the two idiots are still fooling around with each other, his deskmate Hanakai Momo greets him with a teasing smile. She was a beautiful girl with a slender figure and long grayish-white hair that's rarely seen in Japan, much less in the small city of Kuo. So, what can I do to the class Madonna? Besides giving a sitcom, please. I don't want to be a gag character. These two idiots in front of me bickering fill the role plentifully. Calling me a Madonna is a bit too much. I'm not that pretty like Himejima-senpai or Grimmery-senpai. In response to Hanakai's humbleness, Issei only shrugged his shoulder with an easy smile. Hey, I just called as it is. Being pretty is subjective, and you are attractive. Besides, rather than those two flowers, I prefer you, Hanakai-san. Ugh Haidu-kun, can you do something with that habit? I'm fine, but other girls could misunderstand, you know. With a red face, Momo scolded Issei while pointing a finger at him. Only, said person smiled at her apologetically. Sorry about that, Hanakai-san. I only said what I meant. I don't mean to bother ya, would you like me to stop? That's cheating. With him making that face, Momo could only sigh helplessly. Of course, she knows Issei doesn't mean anything malicious. Heck, she even knew that this guy only gave compliments when he actually meant it genuinely. After all, she had already been acquainted with him for about half a year in the previous year in the same class. If he's just a pretentious bastard, Momo will keep away from him tens of meters at all times. Well, some people may take offense to his bluntness. But for her personally. I don't mind. Just keep it in moderation, okay? Grumbling, she folded her hands while looking away from him with a pout on her still pink face. In response, Issei could only chuckle at her adorable reaction. "You're really cute, Hanakai-san." "Moo. See. That's what I meant. Okay, I'll be careful. I'll be wait stop, that's my face, Hanakai-san. I give. Mercy please." As people always say, no good deed goes unpunished. Even if Issei complimented her without any kind of intention, Momo mercilessly pounded on him with both hands. It may seem cute with her still pouting and reddish face. But her strength is no joke. Seriously, how could a small girl like her have this much ack? My hands. Well, if anyone knows Momo more personally, it may not be strange considering her unique physique. Either way, he's under her mercy. Issei, he could only wonder how Momo had a lot of strength that could wrestle with him like this. Although, he didn't hold her wrist since he never had the intention to hurt her. Powerful girl or not, Issei is still a gentleman who was taught properly by his good parents. While Issei is seriously contemplating how to calm her down. We are not on their eyesight anymore. Just give up, Mitsuda. Issei is on a different level than us. On that, Mitsuda could only agree. After calming down from their argument, the sitcom duo immediately realizes the ruckus caused by their leader. Really, while they are fighting to prove their supremacy, their good bro is flawlessly flirting with the bishoujo of their class. Sigh. They could only sigh helplessly and applaud internally for their leader's natural riz. Wait guys, please help. Your friend is being pummeled, okay? Just go die, you Eichmann bastard. What the hell you mean by that? Washington wait, Hanakai-san. That place is back. Ah. Someone uttered that, but Issei couldn't pinpoint the said one. Rather, he couldn't focus on anything anymore. Shahid my. Well, let's just say a man could be hurt effectively if hit in certain places. As a result, the poor guy immediately passed out with a peaceful smile on his face. Momo, who regained her sense from the embarrassment, immediately gasped in horror after realizing her blunder. Haidu-kun, wake up. Oh goodness what should I? Well Momo could only flail helplessly, the double M&M only shrugged their shoulders with wry smiles. The spectators who also watched this scene only shook their heads at their lovable classmates' well-known stupidity. It was a regular scene for their class. She didn't have to hit me that hard. Oh wait, it's also my fault for teasing her. The man, who holds his throbbing temple from being struck, grumbles about the unfairness of it all. However, in the end, he just accepts it easily for being a fool even knowing Momistrats. The school nurse only chuckled knowingly at the regular patient who came and went into this medical room for the same reason. Without asking much and questioning Issei for regular checks, the student was immediately released without much preamble. Which led to him walking alone toward his house during sunset time. Mitsuda and Motohama only give him well wishes and short sorry on his chat app, while Momo, he got her number after he begged her to help tutor about the accursed subject, math, says sorry repeatedly, and apologizes too for not staying longer checking on him because of student council jobs. She really shouldn't worry that much. It's my fault anyway. While wryly smiling but appreciating his friend's good-naturedness, he only messaged her back to not worry much and good luck with her student council's work. As for those two idiots, he replied with, "Don't worry about it. They already knew each other for about a year. Bros don't need many words to understand each other." Well, at least Issei thought so. HMHMHMM. Humming to the rhythmic tone of the previous anime's opening song offbeat, Issei walks leisurely to his house. At this time, his mother is still on the track toward home too after buying groceries, and his father is also coming home after a long day of work. Oh, katsudan's on the menu today. Maybe meat and potatoes. Well, mom's cooking is the best so anything works. It was then, while he was happily imagining the delicious food waiting at his house. Hello. The girl's voice calls out near him. Unconsciously, Issei stopped in his tracks. Not being a self-conscious prick, the bridge he's walking right now doesn't have any other people, so the girl is naturally calling to him. Turning toward his back slowly. Pretty. If Momo was here, she would rub her temple while contemplating whether this guy lacked punishment. After being smacked repeatedly to be careful, this guy still unrepentantly compliments people, especially girls, without warning. Thank you. His habit of blurting out words makes the girl flustered, but she immediately calms herself. However, she's still a little bit pink-faced after an unexpected compliment from him. It was not unappreciated though. Ah crap. So sorry miss, I'm trying to be careful of my bad habits. It's just, you were so beautiful that I was mesmerized at the words naturally and shutting up now. No, it's okay. You don't mean anything about it. The boy and girl flustered silly by apologizing to each other because of the boy's unexpected comment. What the hell is this? If the double M idiot saw this scene, they could only laugh and shake their heads helplessly for their bro's charm. Really, he already caused one romcom with Momo, getting his head hit repeatedly because of it. And then this. Issei is not handsome, nor is he idol material. Mitsuda knows this. Motohama knows it too. Hell, even the guy himself admits it too. He's way too normal for being called Eichmann. That said title is only crowned for his other classmate, Kibayudo. The guy only needs a little old smile, and the girls will swarm the said man in 1 second flat. Maybe having a cute boyish face and golden brown eyes can be called his charm points, but that's all about it, objectively said. No, what makes Momo and even this girl flustered naturally is because of his honesty and open-mouth policy. Sometimes, small compliments given genuinely are the best way to open the other party's heart. Well, maybe too effective. Lightly coughing to cover his faux pas, Issei takes a deep breath to calm himself. Then, he makes eye contact with the pretty girl who called out to him while scratching the back of his head bashfully. So what can I do for you? Right. Please give me a moment. Phew. Doing one complete cycle of breathing in and out, the girl opened her clear amethyst eyes and faced the boy with a cute smile on her unblemished face. Then, she places her right hand on her, admittedly, ample chest. The wind blew her long silky black hair that stretched down to her waist while doing so. All of this combination is what Issei unconsciously but genuinely expresses. Pretty. Nice to meet you, Haidu Issei-kun. My name is Amano Yuma. This pretty girl. I'm sorry for calling you out suddenly like this. Hides a secret. There's something I want to say to you for a while now. A secret that'll destroy his cycle of normalcy. My eyes always follow you on your way back home. The cycle has been kept for a solid 17 years. My heart always beats faster when I look at you. The normalcy that could happen because of secrecy. After thinking, I know what these feelings are. And now, the secrecy will lead him to a dangerous path. Imblid, you call me pretty. Nobody, not even him nor the girl, knows what the path may lead. Haidu Issei-kun, I fell in love with you at first sight. That's why. However, there's one thing for sure. Please, go out with me. Nothing will stay the same anymore. Oh. In response to the heartful confession of this beautiful stranger in front of him, the reception of the confessed could only respond dumbly like an idiot. Or rather, that's the best response for his teenage mind with little to no experience regarding romance. As said before, the high schooler could view himself objectively. Maybe there's a bias here and there, but at least Issei knew his own value, such as his average physical appearance. Mitsuda and Motohama did comment that Issei is way too harsh toward himself, even reaching to earn him the title old man regarding his maturity. However, Momo countered them bashfully that it was one of his wonderful charms, which earned a lot of teasing looks. That's why he never expected somebody could fall in love with him at first sight only. Anyway. Sorry Amano-san. I didn't know how to respond. Pretty uncool, huh? While Issei could only scratch the back of his head awkwardly, Yuma only shook her head slowly, still with a cute smile plastered on her immaculate face. In fact, she even showed a sympathizing expression. No, don't worry about it, Haidu-kun. It's also my fault for saying this out of the blue. When she hesitated to continue her lines, Issei began to calm down too. In response, he shook his head slowly and showed her a shy smile. Yeah, I'm an idiot. The least I could do is to answer her honestly. He does not want to be those munchkin protagonists whose denseness could rival black holes, thank you very much. It's fine. Rather, I admire your courage to confess your feelings to someone whom you never talked to. At least, you're way better than me who could only fluster like a headless chicken. Self-depreciation toward oneself can be detrimental either toward oneself or other party. That is an absolute truth in communication. However, depending on the context, it may work as a glue for easing the tension or expressing own character seamlessly. As proof, Yuma, who heard his comment, subconsciously lowered her body tension. Moreover, when she sees Issei's reaction is not much different than hers, she begins to feel more comfortable toward him. Imblid, you see it like that? Yuma releases a breath of relief. And then, she lowered her head shyly and fidgeted her fingers. So your answer? Immediately, Issei took a long deep breath and released it slowly while closing his eyes. Then he opened his golden brown eyes to stare at her seriously. Firstly, let me say this. Thank you very much for your feeling. As a person, and especially as a man, I'm really flattered by an attractive girl like you. And then, Issei showed a bright smile, reflecting his gratitude toward her. At the very least, I could confidently say this. On this day, this moment, I will never forget receiving my very first heartful confession for the rest of my life. Hearing that, Yuma blinked her amethyst eyes repeatedly. Then, when she comprehended his straightforward words without filter, Yuma lowered her head. From a third point of view, it may be seen as a girl who hides her own shyness but happiness at the same time. But if look closely, there's no hiding the biting of her lip and the guilt shown in her eyes. However, on the next split second, Yuma raised her head as if her previous expression was a lie by showing a bright smile with a pink face. Moreover, she even leans her head slowly toward him while positioning it below his eyesight with a teasing smile. "Ooh, you say you're new on this, but your words are so smooth, Haidu-kun. My poor maiden heart beats loudly, you know. Ahaha, well, rather than act strong and make a fool of myself, it's better to express my feelings openly like this. No matter what the result is, at least I won't regret it." How naive. How foolish. How disgustingly honest of him. And yet. Her smile, unnoticed by Issei, is mixed with bitterness. Is that so? It makes this whole situation harder for her. In response to her reaction, Issei gathered his wits and finally focused on the initial topic. "So, for your confession." "Yes." Just as she shows her state of being nervous, Yuma gulps loudly and holds both of her hands in front of her ample chest, expressing her hope for a positive answer. "Can we do a trial date first?" "Eh?" As if dumbfounded, Yuma also reacts blankly, just like Issei in the beginning. Expecting her reaction, Issei slowly but clearly explains his reason. "See, while I'm grateful for your feelings, there's no denying this is our first meeting, right?" "Well, that's true." Excluding her when she looked at him for her purposes, Issei truly never met, much more talked to her. "That's why. I can't accept your confession blindly like this. It just feels wrong." Issei cautiously but gently refused her feelings. He hoped that she wouldn't react badly, since rejection could lead to exploding negative emotions. Fortunately, Yuma only listened to him silently but attentively. "Let's go on a date at a decided time and place. If I'm not what you expected, it's better for us to be friends if you are still willing. If not, then." Scratching his cheek bashfully, Issei continued his word, but with a smaller voice. Yuma even leans to him a bit more for better hearing. Even so, there's no mistake that the resolve behind his words is positively loud and clear. "I try no. I will be the best boyfriend for you." As if taken aback, Yuma jolts and retracts her leaned head toward the initial position. Then, she showed a grateful smile toward Issei. "Thank you, Haidu-kuni, like that too." Breathing a sigh of relief, Issei nods and smiles thankfully for her patience and understanding. After all, he knows just how slow he is compared to other teenagers. Some may even show contempt toward him for making such a pretty girl lead and egging her on with baseless hope. But Yuma didn't see it like that. Rather, she, who is much older hidden in her disguise, could see Issei's intention very clearly without mistaking it. From the beginning until the end, he never lied to her. Heck, there's no sign of supremacy or childish arrogance from knowing a pretty girl likes him. He was 100% serious. All of his actions and words are given with a clear conscience. "Then, this weekend, could we meet at Kuo Park around 11 a.m? Does that work for you?" "That works for me." If taken nicely, he's very cautious in his approach, which is rare in this day and age for being conservative. If taken badly, he's an indecisive asshole who makes one frustrated just by looking at him. Yuma, it was a very sweet gesture, who takes her confession very seriously. Honestly, she didn't even expect her flimsy action could be taken like this. It would be lying if her stone heart was not fluttered by his genuine appreciation and honest feeling. Looking at him, shyly asking for her number while trying his best not to stutter, Yuma could only sigh forlornly in her mind. Very sweet. What a shame. Inwardly, Yuma expresses a bitter smile who has to deceive such a person for her objective. Yes, what a shame really. If she could meet with him in a different stance and situation, maybe they could truly be a loving couple. At least, she wouldn't mind being a good but teasing older sister for this cute boy. Sadly, it was never meant to be in this lifetime. Life is a bitch. Then goodbye Amano-san. See you on the weekend. Oh my, so early to separate with me? I'm quite confident of my appearance, you know. Seeing her unabashedly praising herself, Issei could only laugh wholeheartedly. While seeing her shy side was truly adorable, he couldn't deny that this confidence of her is refreshing and attractive. Well, for me personally, just staring at you all day long makes me happy. No matter what you do, a pretty girl makes a boy like me entranced just with a flick of your finger. Your friend was right. You really need to fix your bad habit. Yuma sighs helplessly at this troublesome boy while facepalming her face for his blunt words. Still, her slightly red ears react oppositely contrary to her actions after hearing that. It was fortunate for her the sunset hit it, which reduced his embarrassing comment. As an older sister, she still has her pride, thank you very much. Honestly, him being shy in front of a pretty woman but openly expressing compliments like that without a sense of shame was mind-boggling to her. Well, I take what I can get though. Really, her original residence is filled with colleagues bitter in life and arrogant toward others, especially lowly humans like the one in front of him. For those muscle-headed idiots, her appearance doesn't really get appreciated much well, except for some fuckers who look at her like a piece of meat without reservation or trying to hide it, but transparent in her eyes. That's why, it's a good ego boost for her maiden heart, which is dry as Sahara dessert these days. A gentleman is rare, no matter what times she lived in. Except their dear leader. Their governor-general is truly cunning and worthy of admiration for making her faction still float stably, despite their rogue tendencies. There's a good reason no one will ever try to mess with him lightly. Although, to her, he's just a different kind of idiot. Pervertish kind of idiot. Chuckling at her stupid thought, Yuma bid farewell to the boy who was merrily skipping on his way home without reserve. Again, it's flattering for her to show that kind of open reaction without hiding. If life could be so simple. What a wishful thinking, Yuma thought resignedly. And then, as if everything was a lie, Yuma's demeanor changed 180 degrees. Her back, which was lowered slightly on purpose, stood straight stiff. Her eyes, which are dopey and cute as described by Issei, sharpened immediately. It even makes one wonder how could such warm eyes express that much coldness on it. Instead of a cute high schooler in her current disguise, a deadly woman would be more apt to describe her. There's one. Rolling her eyes at her back, but not turning her head, she confirmed the poorly but still hiding peeper on the bush behind her. Clicking her tongue inwardly, Yuma slowly but cluelessly goes back to her temporary home. For now, it's a success. The rest, I just need to complete my mission quietly. To be honest, it's as easy as taking candy from a baby for her to eliminate that stupid peeper. One flick and boom, problem solved. If she ignores the consequences and the backer of the said peeper. For this kind of simple mission, it was usually given to lower-level grunts, not her. Not to toot her own horn, she could be described as a veteran in their circle. Definitely not a powerhouse, but someone who could pull her own weight easily. Moreover, not only she was specifically chosen, but her 3 close colleagues also are on standby. All of these excessive precautions happen for this simple mission. However, Yuma won't complain nor underestimate the difficulty of it. She was even grateful for having this much safety net in case anything went wrong. The repercussion for making a scene in this area is something nobody, not even her boss, could handle. Disgusting bat slaves. Gritting her teeth slightly, Yuma unconsciously gripped her hand shaped into a fist, her nails digging into her palm strongly. She continued to walk calmly until the peeper gave up. Deep breathe, Yuma. Don't mess this up. As if convincing herself, she said these words under her breath again and again until her emotion receded. She may be arrogant, but the reason for her to be chosen for this mission is not to antagonize others, but to secrecy. She's smart and especially tolerant enough to know further aggression in this territory is just throwing a bigger pile of shit in this constant fucking mess. No, a dung pile of shit is comparatively better. Even though it's messy and crappy, it's far, far better than the absolute worst possible situation. One small catalyst will make everything explode spectacularly. If that happens, there's truly nothing to be done. I'm sorry to say. From her peers, she knew that her personality could be considered soft. She doesn't necessarily like those humans. She's too jaded after seeing all of the crap humanity has done toward themselves and the world too. But, she never hated them until she wished for their extinction either. Fallen or not, the initial purpose of her birth never changes much. Even so, there's always something in life that has to be compromised for. For her selfish motives. Her current organization's main purpose is to keep watch and record everything, representing its namesake. But this time. With her back facing the peeper, Yuma formed a cold expression, setting her mouth to a thin line. No matter how much remorse and pity she feels, what she'll do won't change. Therefore. Please die for us. She needs to cross the line. That's all from me, but you. I see. Good work, Kaneko. Night, Kuo Academy old building. In this old place, 3 girls wearing the same uniforms but very different body proportions gather for their activities. One is a purple-haired ponytailed girl named Himejima Keno, looking at the other two's conversation with a perpetual beatific smile. She was standing behind the one who sat on the chair, just like an assistant. For some reason, she closes her eyes often during conversation too. The next girl is the petite white-haired girl named Taoju Kaneko. Or, as Yuma dubbed disgusting bat stalker in her mind. Whether said girl noticed Yuma's contempt or not, no one could know. As ordered by her club leader Butchu, Kaneko style observed the interested party, hi to Issei. Looking at her master, Kaneko is silent for a moment. Then, as if she couldn't hold it in anymore, she abruptly opened her small mouth that contained her curiosity. What will you do now? Oh? This is interesting. The last one who hums contemplatively to Kaneko's question is the leader of these 2 girls, Ria's Gremory. On an official note, she is just a normal third-year Kuo High School student who manages the occult club for their hobbies. Well, as normal as the beautiful great ladies crowned by the students, especially boys. Her title is warranted as her shining crimson hair and appropriate body proportion exude a great womanly charm that no normal high schooler could have. This is a fact, as all three of them were never normal from the beginning. Back to Kaneko's inquiry, Rias only smiled mysteriously and folded her hands on the desk, unconsciously raising her abundant chest, which made Kaneko subconsciously twitch her eyebrow for the low-key insult to her. Just ignore it. What a sad fate for the eternal cute petite mascot of Kuo Academy. As for what Rias thinks it's interesting, she's a bit amused that Kaneko would even ask that as if she was oblivious to the danger coming to them. This is just for confirmation, but you could smell it, right? On that, two immediate but not positive reactions occurred to them. Akeno, the Yamato Nadeshiko lady still looks the same, but her aura changes considerably. As if her parents' worst enemy come to life, her anger was palpable radiating around the room. Kaneko, whom Rias inquired, furrowed her brow as if she could notice the upcoming trouble inevitably too. Crow. Not pigeon, not a bat, but a crow is spoken by Kaneko. To normal people, it may seem nonsensical or gaming code for teenagers. To them though, it was a code for Yuuma's true identity. After all, besides friendly bats, no pigeons nor crows are welcome to this territory unless explicitly stated. Rather, no fools willingly come to Kuo Town if they knew who managed this town behind the scenes. Unless. Then you should know. My guess was correct. They were forced to come for their agenda. Rias, who looks as if the lottery prize is right in front of her eyes, proudly states her opinion to Kaneko. The petite girl sighed wordlessly at her reaction, but didn't refute her words. After all, her comments about Haidu Issei's peculiarity from a year ago come back to this very moment. Dragon. Flick. Bingo. As if saying the correct answer, Rias chuckled knowingly and snapped her finger. It was a bit exaggerated, but every person has their own quirks, so nobody criticized her for the dramatic reactions. Rather, even Akeno found it cute for her master's reaction while chuckling lightly behind her hand. Dragon. This single word has a different hidden meaning, but the weight behind it far outclassed all three code words. What's more outrageous is that Kaneko implicitly stated that, with her nose, she could smell the scent of a dragon in the seemingly normal high school student. Not only it was ridiculous, but some people may even snort contemptfully at the sheer ludicrosity of it. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunate for Rias, that ridiculous situation came true for her. If she didn't care her image in front of her clubmates, she would jump in joy for this unexpected but very welcome chance coming to her lap. What I will do is simple. We watch them from the sideline. Wait and see approach. As one of the rulers of this territory, it may be a smidge too passive approach. As if expressing that, Kaneko frowned worriedly while Akeno pouted visibly on her cheek since she couldn't play with her new toys anymore. But they won't refute her. Rather, they couldn't. 1. There is little to no information about this Yuma. Although she may be illegally entering this town, she may not know who manages this area, which is almost improbable, really. Based on Kaneko's observation, it's possible since crows have an instinctual habit of picking a fight with other races when interfering with his or her agenda. Whether she notices it or not, there is a small probability she's just hanging out with the dragon-smelled boy. 2. Worsening the current situation without having a backup solution. This is also what Yuma worries about, but all three sides generally avoid the doomsday scenario that's possibly happening just because of the small skirmish. If that happens, Rias and the other ruler who manage this territory are helpless to do anything about it, even with the support from their respective families. And finally. This is a one-in-a-million opportunity. Both of them tilted their heads for not understanding this said opportunity. But after a few seconds, Akeno spoke from her mouth and nodded in understanding, while Kaneko folded her hands perplexedly regarding this opportunity. Necessary? It wasn't a baseless worry. Rather, if anyone from the neutral side considers it from Kaneko's side, such words inadvertently come out. She could understand Ria's intention and the reason behind it. Still. Haidu-senpai is innocent. It all boils down to basic compassion. Half a year ago, Kaneko was requested to observe Issei's activity and find his nature if possible. Not a thorough one, but a basic surface-level search about him. The result, he was absolutely normal on every side. Even on this side or on his family, there is truly nothing noteworthy to find. Not to diss her senior, she's not that cruel, but Issei-senpai is particularly uninteresting to her. In fact, she was close to indifference. However, she silently praised him in her mind after successfully educating those two M&M idiots in basic decency for not frolicking like a monkey in school. Perverts are one of the few things she couldn't absolutely tolerate. Rias is not an idiot or emotionally dense. She may be a bit lacking in experience compared to her esteemed brother, but she could notice Kaneko's unquestioned worries. I understand what you are worried about, Kaneko. If possible, I want to recruit Haidu-kun as naturally as possible too. During the agreement for managing this territory, Rias and the current student council president have explicitly agreed to share the burden and possible chance that could benefit them fairly and equally. In these 2 years, such agreements have been kept faithfully as much as possible to avoid antagonizing each other. In fact, both of them are quite close in private too. Moreover, Rias and the other person never really like the way to exploit people for their own benefit, which is different from their race's norms. But sadly, the situation has changed drastically for this year. Or rather, Ria's side is almost at the end of the rope. Remembering the recent news she heard from her brother's work partner, the club leader's face is filled with gloom and anger. 2 days ago, I just got words from Grafiani. She said, until the end of your school year. I don't think that needs elaboration, yes. Hearing that unexpected news coming from out of the blue, the pair also react horribly. Akeno gasped at the sudden changes with no preamble, while Kaneko grimaced at its shortened time limit. As a person of Gremory, every member has a role needed to fulfill, small or not. Ria's is no exception. In fact, her responsibility is far more heavy as the future successor of Gremory's house. Ria's hated it. She hated that shackle much more than any other thing she experienced in her life. Even though she was grateful to be born into the family, she couldn't stop the feeling of frustration. Logic is always separate from emotion. For a young girl like Ria's, especially so. It's not that she's blind from the need to fulfill her obligation. Considering the endangered pure species of her race, she understood the necessity of it. That's why, even though she vehemently rebuked the news coming from Grafia, she wasn't the least surprised her words meant absolutely nothing to her and her mother. Can we try to persuade the other side of the family? Akeno softly proposed a possible solution, but Rias only chuckled mirthlessly after hearing that. While they are in a situation to borrow any helping hand even from cats, Akeno herself cringed from the sheer bullshit coming from her mouth. Kaneko even shook her head hopelessly like she could imagine the only possible result coming from it. No more option. No more option. It was final. If Rias, the main party involved in the situation, said so in a matter-of-fact manner, then there's truly nothing that could be done anymore. Therefore, it goes back to their initial start. Banking their hope to Haidu Issei. Kaneko, you don't need to observe Yuma anymore. Since we know her hideout is in the abandoned church, that's already a plus. Instead, change your main target to Haidu-kun without him noticing it. In these few days, there's going to be a change. I guarantee it. Kaneko nods at that. It was a no-brainer anyway. I'll report it to the student council president for upcoming action. On that, Rias opened her mouth, closed it, and repeated it again and again. Kaneko tilted her head confusedly at that. After all, there's no need to hesitate for it. As agreed before, it was protocol to share their findings with. But you? Something's wrong. Kaneko narrowed her eyes and looked at her club leader warily. She doesn't know what is specifically wrong. However, at least she knows her plan to report this to the student president is not mistaken. So why is she reacting like that? Kaneko got her answer after tens of seconds. However, she never said she had to like it. Sona doesn't need to know about this. For a moment, Kaneko blanked out. She could hear the words coming from Ria's mouth, but her brain lags to compute it. Even Akeno gripped her folded hands tightly while biting her lip. After a few seconds, Kaneko was able to digest it. She hopefully wishes it was just a hallucination. However, looking at the solemn face of her master, it looks like there's no mistake. They are going on their backs from their partner. Are you sure? Yes. There was barely any hesitation from Ria's mouth. In fact, she looks determined as if this is the best possible way for her to overcome this problem. For a moment, Kaneko is silent. She could understand Butchu's actions. She truly could. If she were in her shoes, Kaneko would worry about it constantly too. Still, this was. However, the refutes coming from her mouth died at the tip of her tongue. She never has the luxury nor the privilege to doubt her master. Therefore, following Butchu's word and keeping the comment to herself is the smartest move. She told herself that countless times. Said excuse sounds hollow even to her. I'm sorry. Was it an apology toward the other side or to the innocent boy purposefully involved in this messed up situation? Or, was it both? No one knows. Only she herself knows the true meaning of her apology. A servant doesn't poke their master's decision rashly. As a good servant. Understood. She will obey the order faithfully. Accepting her words, Rias nods her head and smiles thankfully to her. Then, when Kaneko asks if there's anything to do, Rias dismisses her immediately without any preamble. Kaneko stares at her master for a moment. Then, she moves her gaze toward Akeno who only smiles apologetically to her with lowered eyelids. After seeing that, the mascot of Kuo Academy bowed her head as a sign of respect and then turned back towards the door. A new sweet store. Maybe it could help. Expecting the blissful, wonderful taste of the bakery, the sweet lover hoped it could help reduce this bitter feeling stuck in her chest. If Kibayudo, the other member of this occult club, looks at her current state, he will stare worriedly, as if leaving her like this alone is good for her. After all, he won't miss the remorse and pity shown in her eyes. Plaque. Sadly, the Prince of Kuo is busy with his contract partner, so nobody can point to this irregularity anymore. Well, his being here or not is almost irrelevant as he's always loyal to his master's wish. Was it really the right choice? Hearing her insecurities, Akeno could only give a bitter smile. Right or wrong, that could only be seen clearly after making the choice, not before. That's why, Akeno could only pat her back softly to her conflicted friend with a comforting smile. You did your best. As someone who stays beside your side for 10 years, let me say this. You did everything you could do. So. Don't think too much about it. As if hearing the unspoken words, Ria slumped her shoulders in relief. In a way, she wants to hear that word the most for forgiving her action. She did feel sorry for involving the innocent boy in their circumstance, but there was nothing more to be done. After reminding herself, her clouded eyes gained clarity, shining brightly. In her youthful but beautiful face, a strong smile appeared on her face shaped as a crescent arc. Yes, there's no other choice for her anymore. What she'll do is the most beneficial choice for everyone. Maybe she will cheat a bit here and there, but her species proactively follow that custom anyway. She just decided to follow it now. This is going to be the first and last time. Apologetically she may feel toward Issei, what she is planning won't change. Saying that inside her mind by consoling herself, she ultimately concludes it'll somehow work wonderfully. For her sake. Please be of use to us, Haidu Issei-kun. She's going to cross the bottom line. I came too early. Looking at the clock showing 10:30 am as clear as day, Haidu Issei could only let out a wry laugh at his idiotic choice. There are still 30 minutes for the promised time. When passerby looks at him waiting for a few minutes already in casual fashionable clothes, they chuckle knowingly at his predicament. 2 days after Yuuma's confession, many things have changed in his surroundings. Firstly, his parents were over the moon. Correction, they still are to this very moment. Issei was even terrified when his mother, Haidu Miki, stood abruptly during his announcement about going on a date with said girl. Then, after a few seconds of rummaging in her room, she declared to her beloved son and her future daughter in LAW. By taking a photo TOGTHER, where did she even get that high quality one? To commemorate this wonderful moment with bloodshot eyes. Not only Issei but even Yuuma herself felt overwhelmed in front of her passion. Luckily, Haidu Goro, the one Issei inherited his maturity, immediately pacified his long-life partner. Don't ruin our son's date, dear. Let's give them space so the young ones could enjoy themselves, alright. To this day, Issei was never more grateful for his father showing such understanding and wiseness by pacifying the matriarch of their family just with a few words. It was a secret that Goro was fabulously proud of his son for snatching such a drop-dead gorgeous girl when he brought her yesterday. As expected of our son. If he could proclaim it to heaven loudly, then he'd scream it without restraint all day long. Watching their happy face and exaggerated reaction, Yuuma giggled cutely at the time, while her heart was filled with melancholy. He truly has wonderful parents, unlike her. Secondly, when Yuuma also accompanied him to school yesterday, Issei's circle of friends experienced a huge shock too. At the school entrance, when Mitsuda and Motohama see such a gorgeous babe walk with their bro like a couple, they immediately kneel and wail in despair. Nuo? Issei left our sacred brotherhood. God. Why are you this cruel? Motohama. Don't be sad. We both expected this moment could come any time. Hikyu. Issei, you lucky bastard. Congratulations. I hope you die in a ditch somewhere. Could you guys stop? It's freaking embarrassing to me. Okay, hell, are you celebrating or dissing at me, you fucking bastards? It was an impactful moment in many senses. Really, Issei was happy that his friends congratulated him earnestly, but couldn't these two idiots know the word restraint? For all day long, his classmates look at him strangely, while the teachers just sigh looking at him and muttering, "Ah, youth." When Issei becomes an adult a few years later, it will be his black history following him for his entire life. Well, at least they pushed my back instead of dragging me into the mud. It shows they really matured, huh? Reminiscing that time, Issei heaved a very long sigh filled with exasperation and gratefulness. If Mitsuda and Motohama never change their ways, the first thing they do is probably diss the Ryaju, then speak this and that toward Yuuma to lower his image. Author's note. Ryaju is a popular guy girl in their school moment who has mostly everything teenagers desire. I think Oregairu expresses it clearly if you know the anime. Good stuff. Them supporting his back is the greatest sign of their growth in friendship toward Issei. He really has great friends. If he ignores their stupidity, which is almost incurable at this point. Luckily, Yuma didn't get weirded out much by his friend's extreme quirks. In fact, she even snickered slightly as if it reminded her of something similar. All things were positive considering everything. Except one last thing. Her reaction was a bit weird, wasn't it? Upping his chin, Issei frowns perplexedly remembering her close female friend. When Momo and Yuma met each other, Issei was understandably worried. After all, he's not that stupid to notice his schoolmates' lingering and longing looks in these few months. Yes, Issei realized that Momo had a crush on him. At the very least, she did show signs of goodwill far more than just a normal friend usually does. At that time, Issei was also flustered, but happy a plain guy like him could get attention from such an attractive girl like her. Personally, he could see a possible future of having a flourishing relationship with a white-haired girl. So he tried to take the bullet and take action. At the very least, he wanted to try before giving up. However, when Issei tried to bridge said grip, it felt like Momo was conflicted. Not in a sense of being disgusted with Issei trying to make a pass, her face looks like Christmas has come early, but in a way that her circumstance doesn't allow her feelings to bear fruit. The high schooler was confused and a little bit hurt by her reaction. But seeing her react this negatively but very reluctant, he gave up cleanly and apologized for his actions. After all, if she was this troubled just by him making a pass, Issei would bury the hatchet resolutely. Romance was fine and all, but to him, it wouldn't be worth it if it ruined their friendship. Noticing Issei's consideration, Momo immediately rejected the notion Issei was at fault. Rather, she even explicitly stated that she couldn't date anyone at this moment. She didn't describe what or why the reason was, but Issei didn't dig deeper. Everyone has their secret, and Momo is the same. While Issei felt a bit sad, he threw away any kind of lingering attachment and regrets wishing for the impossible. Instead, he always felt grateful Momo still wanted to be friends with him. Although, while he was fine, maybe there was still some lingering feeling from Momo if he didn't read it wrong. At least, he thought so from his point of view. I become popular without noticing it, huh? A bitter laugh unconsciously comes out. His position could be considered as envy for most men, but experiencing it directly truly puts it into perspective. In any case, Issei thought that Momo may look at Yuma in a bad light after considering her feelings. Looking at her crush taken by another woman from sideway without a preamble, the pain will be unimaginable to him. Issei would be impressed if Momo could support his trial girlfriend sincerely for flourishing results without scathing remarks or sarcasm. And yet, reality surprised him in a way he couldn't expect. She was in disbelief looking at the raven-haired girl and wary. Extremely so. Not in the sense of a thieving cat stealing her man, she's not that delusional, but in a way that Yuma was not supposed to be here at all. While he did expect trouble when these two girls met, he didn't expect Momo's reaction to be that strong in a weird direction. Sadly, when the boy who received the two girls' affection, indirectly and directly, kicked his two idiots to stop the stupid shit they were doing, he missed the chance to inquire about her weariful reaction. Last but not least, his trial girlfriend. Amano Yuma, the girl who caused all of this. At that time, her expression. Excuse me. Flinch. Wow, hello. His hands had been folded unconsciously while he was thinking this and that. Though, it awkwardly returned to his side after being called by a cutesy but mature voice of a woman. Focusing his gaze on the said woman, Issei blinked repeatedly at her attire. It was revealing, so much that it could be labeled as public indecency if she walked into the wrong district in this town. While the boy admits her two-piece outfit highlights her generous figure, he won't leer at her shamelessly. He has that much decency for a man waiting for his date. However, her pair of black bat wings sticking in her back leads him to conclude that she's a cosplayer servant. Of what kind, he didn't know. The nearest comparison would be a vampire familiar. Seeing her stretching her slender hands while handing a flyer toward him, Issei immediately realizes she's a worker of some kind. For me? Pointing at himself while asking curiously, the woman nods cheerfully. Yep. If you have a wish of any kind, imagine it strongly in your head while grabbing it. Who knows? Maybe it'll come true. Ah. She's that kind of worker. He doesn't need to imagine what her occupation is. Hell, it's even polite to even consider it as a proper job. Slowly but surely stepping back from the strange lady, Issei politely smiled at the dangerous woman while grabbing the flyer slowly, as if it could bite him any time. Thanks. I'll consider it if I'm in trouble. Please have a nice day. Oh. I haven't Feeny. Please. Have. A nice. Day. If there's a contest in being polite while shooing a person, Issei would win in a landslide. From the woman's side, she shivered slightly from the polite but absolute tone used by the boy. Following her instinct, she stiffly smiled at the unassuming but very, very threatening guy and decided to retreat quietly. How could a smile look so terrifying? Then, have a nice day. You too. Have a nice day. It was just a repetition of the same line, so why does it sound very different to her? With trembling steps, she walks back to her workplace. Her job is done anyway, she walks at a faster pace than normal while crying in her mind. Master, he's scary. What a poor familiar cosplay servant. Sighing slightly while confirming it or retreating back, he checks out the flyer given to her. Not actually use it, but to take a note so he could warn his friends of a new type of scam. Young and green he may be, naive he is not. A magic circle. Crowning it unique design of the flyer, he flipped the backside for any contact details. To his surprise, there's nothing. It really was just a weird design of a magic circle. Was she serious? Even for a scam, not leaving a contact detail for further communication is just plain weird. Hell, if he's bluntly honest, it's just a waste of paper. Scratching his head confusedly at the supposedly weird girl, he decided to keep it in his pockets. Tomorrow he could show it to his friends if they know anything for further clarification. In the near future, when he reminisces about this scene, he does not know whether to laugh or cry at the absurdity of everything. If anything, maybe it's really just fate playing cruel tricks on him. While it could solve his problem, it also brought further troubles to him. No, trouble may not be an apt word. It's something far worse to conclude it as just a hassle. A one-sided contract that doesn't take consideration of his opinion. What are you thinking so deeply? Hearing the familiar but melodious voice for these 2 days, a bright smile unconsciously appears on his face. It looks like 30 minutes have passed after thinking about the stupid scam. When he turns his back to greet the girl. Hey, Amano-san. It's this Ma. Hi, Issei froze. His jaw dropped to the lowest point possible. His widened eyes would make one hallucinate whether it'll pop out. There's a saying that a girl could transform with the right makeup. Amano Yuma is the personification of that saying. Time stops. No, everything is stagnating except for one person in front of him. Anything looks so meaningless and colorless except her. She was dazzling. Wearing a long white one-piece dress that covers until her knees, brings out her sense of youthfulness. Her face, which was unblemished, has a bit of pink color in it from makeup. While her upper shoulder is bare, her long glossy black hair contrasts the white dress in her shoulder. The outfit leaves a bit of window cleavage, but it's on the conservative side, highlighting her slender neckbone. Looking at the boy's dumbfounded reaction in front of her, Yuma giggled slightly at his honest but adorable side. At least it's worth dressing up a bit for the occasion. Am I that beautiful to you? Yes. It was a teasing remark, but his answer was spontaneous. He blushed a bit for his accidental faux pas, but didn't try to retract it. Instead, he took one deep breath and made eye contact with her shining amethyst eyes while smiling softly. Out of all the girls I looked at until now, there's truly nobody that could outbeat you in looks. You're truly beautiful, Amano-san. I'm the luckiest man on the planet to have you as a date. There was no stutter, fluster, or embarrassment for the usual teenage male. Instead, the man just gives a full-blown counter that expresses his feelings wholeheartedly with an admiring sigh. The two M&M idiots would clap their hands later strongly for that straight delivery. As expected, their bro is made of different levels. For a moment, Yuma blinked repeatedly as if she couldn't understand him. Then, when she digests his comments one by one, her pink face is slowly covered by colored red from blood flowing through. Her face is hot. So much so that it makes her lightheaded. She couldn't look straight at him. Are you okay, Amano-san? Awa. When she lowered her head unconsciously from embarrassment, two rough palm hands gently but strongly grabbed her face. Then, her view is filled with her date's face looking at her. There's no admiration in that gaze anymore. Maybe she could handle it if it's just that. Instead, this boy looked at her with an intense gaze of golden brown eyes filled with care and worry. How could a guy like him be a virgin having his very first date? This is a scam. Ironically, that word should be described to her and that cosplayer girl. Yuma panicked inwardly, but her faster heartbeat and rational mind in the corner of her brain confirmed this was very real. Additionally, the latter even cynically says that what a pathetic excuse of a woman for being flustered this much by a boy age less than the 20s. Shut up, you. Bitch. Slapping her stupid side to the very deep of her mind, she gently but slowly pushed Issei back with her slender hands. Then, she forcefully raised her still blushing face to make eye contact with the boy. I am fine, Haidu-kun. Just a bit of heatstroke, okay? A heatstroke? It was still in the middle of spring with cool air blowing though. He tilted his head for not understanding her confusing remark. When trying to inquire more, he finally realized her still blushing but now sweating face with a stiff smile. Oh. Again, his bad habit strikes this moment. Understanding the situation now, Issei scratched the back of his head awkwardly. I'm sorry for being insensitive, Amano-san. I shouldn't grab you suddenly like that without permission. No, it's okay. No harm done. Except for her womanly pride. Coughing once to regain her dignity, which is almost nothing, she faces her date properly with a more natural smile on her face. Thank you for the compliment, Haidu-kun. You're not so bad yourself. On that, Issei shrugged his shoulder nonchalantly. On most occasions, boys will always have less impact in a change of outfit. Well, I did my best, but I guess it got overshadowed by your dazzling appearance. Are you really not doing it on purpose? If not, she has to reevaluate her assessment of this supposedly innocent boy. Not she's fooling nobody, this boy is already dangerous in a certain way, but he'll be more fearsome after giving him a few years of experience. Her comment with the tone, "Are you bullshitting me right now?" and a haggard face, Issei could only shake his head amusedly with a wry smile. I'm just a guy with a girl way out of his league. Then, the least I could do is to be honest to you and myself. What a stupidly naive answer. With a tiring sigh, Yuma facepalmed him at this boy's pureness. Coincidentally, it also covered her bashful expression hearing that. I guess I need to be careful. The what, nobody could know except her. By the way, just how long did you wait here? There's still 10 minutes before designated time, you know. Really? Looking at her nodding, he looks at the pole clock near him. The longer finger of the clock clearly points to the number 10, which tells the time of 10:50 a.m. at the current moment. Guess it's worth it to wait 30 minutes before. You're here at 10:30. Looking at her amused but disbelief expression, Issei shyly scratched his cheek. Even he knows how silly he sounded right now. It's my first date. I was so excited about it, hoping I could meet you every second earlier. We really guess you did. Yeah. The boy's honest compliment made himself shy and pink-faced, while the lady who heard it blushed again, while ducking her face downward embarrassedly. The people who watched this scene suddenly felt so sweetly stuffy in their chests. Some girls who heard the boy's comment even giggled at those smooth and yet cute lines. It looks like black coffee will sell well. Shaking his head from the shyness, he smiled slightly at his date. Today, it'll decide whether this relationship could go well or not. So he needs to put 120% of his effort. Nothing for the best of his date. Then let me escort you, my lady. Blinking at the unexpected action, Yuma stares at Issei lightly bowing while stretching his hand toward her. Understanding and flattered at the same time, the raven-haired girl gently smiles back in response, taking his hand slowly. Please guide me well, my knight. I'm not so easily pleased, you know. Then it makes it more worthwhile to see your real smile, fair lady. Snickering at the cheesy lines but appreciating the words, the giddy Yuma smiles more brightly. However, her heart is feeling more heavy with guilt and remorse. She'll know the only possible ending of this date. No matter how much Issei impressed her or would try to beg her, it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't but. Just a bit. She wants to savor it as long as possible. Not as a disguised agent jaded by life and time. You already impressed me more than I can count. But as a girl, disguised as she may be, to enjoy this beautiful but fleeting moment for her. Haidu Issei is a normal high school student. It sounds like a joke. Rather, it could be the start of a romantic comedy or light novel with the usual cliché and everything. However, the boy himself never thought of himself as special or involved in it. To him, being special is something shining like a star. Just existing will attract people's attention. Their action will surpass the mediocre effortlessly. Their life will arouse people's curiosity. Their achievement will shadow others and move forward humanity as a whole. That's what special means to him. Something unattainable, something that couldn't be gained no matter how much one wishes for it. Someone who will overcome the masses with their rapid progress. But logic is also separate from emotion. This is also a fact. The child of him in the past knew this intimately. He knew it. But he couldn't stop moving. He couldn't stop dreaming about it. He couldn't stop his imagination of future him outshining everybody, making his parents the proudest in the world. To the young and immature him, such drive was the flame beating his heart. A hero. I want to be like them. How many times did he watch admiringly the masked hero show who beat the villain effortlessly while making a cool pose? How many times did he try to copy it so he could be the coolest hero just like them? Dozens, hundreds, until even thousands. He wished for it. He worked hard as much as he could. He imitated their life lessons so he could be like them. He tried everything he could think of with his small and limited life experience. And then he burned out. There's no great moment of being beaten by a destined rival. There were no special events that made him realize it. There's no tragedy that forced him either. Wasn't it obvious? In the end. Oh. So that's it. The mediocre couldn't be special. Maybe this saying is not applicable to everyone. Some people in history successfully bridged that insurmountable gap with luck, opportunity, bleeding effort, or a combination of everything. However, just how many people who failed among these successful cases were buried in their humongous shadows? The young him never thought about it. No, maybe he did in the very back of his mind but tried to forcefully ignore it. However, ignoring won't mean erasing it. It will always be stuck with you annoyingly like a permanent stain. It will never leave him alone peacefully. Then, it will stand in front of you. The despairing but absolute fact that's called reality. Surprisingly, he didn't whine much about it in the initial realization. He didn't react exaggeratingly like a man who lost all of his life purpose either. But one thing is for sure. Issei was never the same anymore. The boy who wanted to be special was no more. The boy who wished to be a hero fervently more than anybody was just a fond old memory of his teenage days. Some people called this escaping, some called it as coping with the facts. Some even compare it to a loser throwing the towel. Issei himself viewed it as growing up. At first, he was angry at the world. Why should he destined to be normal? The boring side A who makes the protagonist shine brightly. Just to be a statistic buried by the sand of time. Was that his destiny? His so-called fate? That's so unfair. This was his second realization. The unfairness of life. At that time, he was very emotional easily. Because of that, he only could dump this load of frustration toward the nearest target. However, he couldn't blame the world or those special people, since it was too vague for him. Then, who was the nearest and the biggest reason for him being normal? That was the first and biggest regret of his life. If it was like this, I shouldn't have been born. As parents, those were the words they would never want to hear in their entire lifetime. Especially their own and only flesh and blood son. And yet, the accursed words were spoken. His emotional side unintentionally forced the words out of his mouth. They knew. How couldn't they? They were his parents. Issei is a result of Goro and Mickey's crystallization of love after multiple failures. Of course, they knew the passion of Issei to be special. As they were once children, they could relate to it too. And their child blamed them for bringing him into this world. Mickey almost passed out after hearing that. Goro wore an aggrieved face for their child to be saying this on their face while glaring at them hatefully. But they didn't rebuke him. They didn't even punish him either. Only, both of them hugged their son tightly. Then, they simultaneously said the same two words. I'm sorry. Issei couldn't remember much of that emotional day. But, it was definitely a sobering one for him in many ways. Just as not being special broke him, seeing his parents crying openly like this triggered him on multiple levels too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yui. Dod. Moom. Hick I whoop you too. I really do oh. Ugh. Cries, snot, and apologies endlessly poured from his face. He was definitely wearing the ugliest face out of the entire series of expressions he could make. In the end, the three of them calmed down after a few minutes and talked about it in an agonizing, but necessary lesson. That was his third realization. Being mediocre doesn't mean he could blame everything. To be more precise, he learned that some things can only be given value by they themselves. His parents were the most special existence in his life. Nothing, until this present, could change that. This regret will shackle him forever. However, it is also a stopper for him to not be complacent anymore. He was still normal. He still is mediocre. But his life was undoubtedly full of happiness. He could still talk with his parents freely. He could make friends without much trouble. He could move forward at his own pace. He could not just dream but make a girlfriend if he put effort into it. How many people couldn't even have these basic simple things in their life? He doesn't know. But, it surely is the same countless number as the mediocre too. Knowing that somber facts, he stopped being selfish and decided to appreciate every single thing he could. Bitching the problems won't make it go away. All of these shaped the current him. The normal, but happy life for him. That's why he didn't know. He didn't know what the world of special looked like. What did the people of that world live for? What are the things they'll do to climb to the very top of the hill? And yet, knowing it won't change the inevitable result. In conclusion, he got his childhood wish. In the worst way possible. Everything he knew would be changed and shaped into a grotesque form. His world will be crashed unforgivingly and unwillingly. His small happiness will be taken away forever. His childhood wish is granted, and the price is almost everything he has. Therefore, nothing would be the same anymore. The date was simpler than Yuma imagined. Have a lunch in family restaurant, watch a rom-com movie at the theater, and currently walk the aquarium witnessing the exquisite fish in the underground tunnel. To be fair, she didn't expect a high schooler to woo her with expensive restaurants, opera, and all of the fancy things. Hell, if he did, she will snort contemptuously for him being a pretentious ass. Come to think of it, I don't even know what's a proper date. Her disguise and current appearance is a female high schooler, but her real age is very, very all mature, even compared to her peers. However, from the golden age of the myths until now, Yuma couldn't even think of a time she had a worthwhile partner to stay by her side, either he or she. According to her colleagues, she was considered scarily good at her work, dubbed as a perfect career woman who married with her job. Yuma took it as an insult by snapping sarcastically that it meant absolutely nothing except keeping her miserable life longer than necessary. Thinking about her desolate and Spartan-ish life, the amethyst-eyed girl couldn't help but let out a sorrowful sigh. Her social life, to put it bluntly, is just crap. Are you okay, Yuma-san? Wow, Issei-kun. Looking at his trial boyfriend gazing at her in concern, she shook her sideways mentally to banish the depressing thought and put an attractive smile on her face. They call each other by first name, per Yuma's suggestion to be more lover-ish. I'm fine. Oopsie, I guess I can be careless too, huh? Frowning at her cutesy reaction, Issei pulls her linked hand with his, bringing both of them in the opposite direction they came from. Blinking at the unexpected action, Yuma inquired the boy bewilderedly. Issei-kun. He didn't answer. Rather, he just continued to walk without even hinting where to go. Fortunately, she didn't get pulled forcefully nor being dragged like a doll. From the beginning until now, he always cared for her well-being. She convinced herself that her faster-than-normal heartbeat is just from being nervous. Finally stopping after about tens of seconds, they stop in front of a bench. Then, the boy put both of his hands on both of her shoulders with a little bit of pressure on them. Not forcefully, he wouldn't be able to move her a single inch if she put her mind to it, but as if being slowly led to. Understanding his intention, but not the meaning behind it, Yuma complied dubiously. Then, when both of them sit, he grabs both of her hands while making eye contact with the same intense gaze just like this late morning. You are lying, Yuma-san. Flinch. Unconsciously, her whole body winced when he spoke matter-of-fact, but with no accusing tone. Raising one of his hands while his other still grabbed hers, Issei stopped any lame reason she could make out. From his pointed look, it looks like excuses won't cut it. For a moment, nobody says anything. They were just staring at each other. One with a scrutinizing look with no malice, while one is filled with worries and confusion. Then, as if the boy reached a conclusion, the boy sighed resignedly. With a bitter smile, he spoke the words out of his mind softly, as if it would crush any kind of hope left. Yuma-san, you didn't enjoy yourself at all, didn't you? She didn't say anything. However, her widened eyes prove that Issei has hit the bullseye. Further, she lowered her head as if being proven guilty. She couldn't rebuke him either as there's nothing to refute too. At first, she was having fun. The boy may be awkward and bumbling a bit during the date. However, it makes her heart pitter-patter with the fact that this is a person who tries his very best just to make her happy no matter what. He may not be the suavest person she met, but he was undoubtedly the most genuine one in her long life. It hurts. It pained her so much that any sense of enjoyment she felt was ruthlessly crushed by a heavy amount of guilt. It took her everything to not make a crumpled grieved face, masking it with a cheerful smile. Although, it was debunked by the boy with little effort. Why does it have to be him? From these 2 days, she was able to confirm the intel given by the upper heads. In the beginning, she didn't really care much for it. But the more Issei interacts with her like this, the more reluctant and dreadful she feels imagining the ending of this scenario. The result? He was completely black with no possible chance of doubt. Yuma-san. Although the person himself didn't show any sign of being aware, she, with her superior sense, noticed it clear as day whether she liked it or not. Issei possessed a certain kind of power. Dormant or not, that fact won't change. She's not a fool. Considering his age and the vibe she gets from it, he will awaken it sooner or later, even without any intervention from outside. Combine that with the facts of this territory ruled by those fucking bats. It paints her a picture. A very ugly one. Why does it have to be you? It was the worst possible scenario, but the chance of it happening was quite high. As the lifelong enemy of that accursed species, she knew their disgusting tactics intimately. After all, its slaves still stalks them, doing a shitty job of masking its presence. So there could only be one ending. No more, no less. Yuma-san. At first, she considered bringing him to their side. Her leader is a collector to the level of fanatic. It may be disobeying her order and a stain on her record. Although, she couldn't give a single fuck for any of those at this point. Besides, her leader would probably do her a favor by bringing a newspaperman. But she couldn't. Rather, she doesn't want to. As a resident of that accursed world, how could she not know the humongous amount of dangers crawling around her constantly? If she brought him just because of a flight of fancy irresponsibly, she might go crazy imagining the possible horrors happening to him. In the end, it all backs to one point. The one thing she was very good at. She has to. Yuma. His words brought her out of her stupor. Yuma raised her head unconsciously to look at the owner of its voice. She was greeted with a rough hand of a man, opposite of hers, holding a handkerchief and wiping her cheeks gently. His eyes are tender, filled with worry and care for her. "Eh? You're crying." It was true. Releasing her holden hand from his, she raised her own to touch the liquid pouring from her face. 2 strands of tears rolled down from her amethyst eyes. "Tch." On pure instinct, she pushed his hand which wiped her tears. Then, she covered her face as much as she could while wiping the cries that were still coming out. This is nothing. I mean, it's not your fault, Issei-kun. Okay, it's just." Disoriented by the jumbled mess of emotion, she didn't recognize the words she blurted out. She just fumbled with her hands messily and spoke erratically, hoping to convince him that any of this was not his fault. At first, Issei was a bit surprised at being pushed. But, when he looked at her current state, his inquiries died from the tip of his tongue. The young man doesn't know why his date started to cry badly after being questioned. He lacks too much experience and context in this kind of situation. So he could only do one thing he could think of. With a determined face, he inched closer to Yuma. Then, he raised both of his hands while slowly but surely wrapping them to this girl. "Issei-kun. Just let it out." "Eh?" Confused by the sudden gesture, she could not understand the words spoken by him. In response, he rubs her back with his hand slowly but gently. "I don't understand why you're crying. I couldn't even hope to know what you're suffering from. But I know one thing. Bottling it inside won't help either of us. So, let it all out, Yuma." As if his words were the signal, Yuma cried louder while wrapping her own hand to his body. Her makeup helped by her friends was utterly ruined, but she couldn't even care for it anymore. Hick. Rubbing her back slowly, Issei soothed her, hoping it could help even a little bit. "It's okay. It's going to be okay, Yuma." No, it won't, Issei. How badly she wants to speak those words. If she was younger and more inexperienced, those words would be spilled out uncontrollably. His comfort given was a soft balm to her weathered soul. But her sliver of rationality wouldn't let her. It wouldn't let her break and be weak from reality. No matter how much Issei comforted her, Yuma didn't lose herself in this sweet dream. Everybody needs to wake up from a wonderful illusion at some point. It was a silver lining that her back faced the shitty bat slave from witnessing her moment of weakness. So, she just hugged him tighter without responding. Her eyes, which poured out lots of tears a moment ago, finally stopped. Now, instead of sadness, her eyes shined with grim determination. There's no turning back anymore. To accomplish her mission. Whisper fucking damn it. She has to be the villain. End of the here. So that's it for today's video guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.